Long before Zeus hurled his thunderbolts, before Poseidon ruled the oceans, and before Hades claimed the realm of the dead, the world was governed by ancient, colossal beings, the Titans. They were the first rulers, born from the marriage of sky and earth, wielding powers that shaped the very fabric of existence. But even the mightiest can fall. Who were they? Why did they fall from their thrones of power? And just how vast was their dominion over the cosmos? Today, we journey back to the dawn of legend to uncover the epic tales of the 12 greatest titans in Greek mythology. Welcome to part 1 of their incredible story. Oceanus, the ancient titan who embodied the endless seas and flowing waters, the living river that embraced the world and whispered the first songs of life into the earth. From a union of earth and sky, the firstborn sun emerged. Oceanus, the titan who embodied the endless, encircling waters of the world. Before rivers found their courses, before oceans met the shores, Oceanus was already there, the living spirit of the primal sea. Mighty, eternal, and boundless, he cradled the earth in his flowing arms, a force of creation and endless life. This is the story of Oceanus, the titan who became the first ocean, and whose currents still whisper the ancient songs of the cosmos. Oceanus, the great titan, was often imagined as a vast, eternal river, a mighty current that flowed endlessly around the known world. From his boundless waters, life itself was born and nurtured. Alongside his sister and consort, the gentle Tethys, Oceanus fathered a legion of divine daughters, the Oceanids. These radiant sea nymphs, spirits of springs, rivers, and fountains, danced across the waves, weaving their magic into every corner of the earth. In every river that sings, in every stream that whispers, the legacy of Oceanus and Tethys still flows, timeless and eternal. Though he never stood among the shining gods of Olympus, Oceanus was revered across the ancient Greek world. A timeless force whispered in the rivers, honored in the tides, and remembered in every drop of rain that touched the earth. Oceanus, the primordial titan, reigned over the great cosmic river that encircled the earth, the source of all fresh waters, the rivers, the wells, the springs, and the rain-laden clouds. But his power reached beyond the waters alone. It was Oceanus who guided the rising and setting of the sun, the moon, and the stars across the shimmering surface of his eternal flow, a silent master of both earth and heavens. Oceanus, the great titan, was often imagined as a vast, eternal river, a mighty current that flowed endlessly around the known world. From his boundless waters, life itself was born and nurtured. Alongside his sister and consort, the gentle Tethys, Oceanus fathered a legion of divine daughters, the Oceanids. These radiant sea nymphs, spirits of springs, rivers, and fountains, danced across the waves, weaving their magic into every corner of the earth. In every river that sings, in every stream that whispers, the legacy of Oceanus and Tethys still flows, timeless and eternal. From a union of Oceanus and Tethys were born the Potamoi, the mighty river gods, and the Oceanids, the radiant nymphs of springs and fountains, who breathed life into every corner of the earth. Yet unlike his Titan brothers, Oceanus chose a different path. He took no part in the violent overthrow of his father, Uranus, nor did he join the great war against Zeus and the Olympian gods. Ever serene, ever eternal, Oceanus flowed beyond the tides of conflict, a silent guardian of the world's waters, untouched by the strife of gods and mortals alike. Number 2. Thetis, Titan goddess of fresh water. Long before oceans roared and rivers carved through stone, there flowed the quiet grace of Thetis, the titaness of fresh, life-giving waters. She was not a goddess of storms or wrath, but of springs, of rain, of hidden streams that nourished the world in silence. From beneath the earth to the clouds above, her presence whispered through every drop that gave the land breath. This is the story of Thetis, the gentle force behind all things that grow. Tethys, the ancient Titaness of fresh, life-giving waters, was the silent heartbeat of the earth's vitality. As the divine consort of Oceanus, the great river that encircled the world, she nourished the land from deep below, unseen but ever-present. From their union flowed all the sacred waters of the world, the mighty Potamoi, gods of the rivers, the Oceanids, nymphs of springs and fountains, and the Nephili, ethereal spirits of the clouds. In her stillness, Tethys held the secret pulse of nature, gentle, eternal, and essential to all life. Tethys, daughter of Gaia, the earth herself, nourished the sacred springs of her children with the waters of Oceanus, drawn from the hidden veins beneath the ground. Her name, rooted in the ancient Greek word Teth, meaning nurse or grandmother, speaks to her role as a quiet guardian of life. She did not roar like thunder or crash like waves, but flowed softly, endlessly, nurturing the world from beneath the soil, drop by sacred drop. As Cronus descended into madness, gripped by fear of losing his throne, Rhea, desperate to protect her child, entrusted her daughter Hera to her sister, the gentle Titaness Thetis. Hidden from her father's wrath, Hera was raised not in a palace of power, but in the quiet sanctuary of fresh waters, nurtured by Thetis as if she were her very own. In reverence to Hera, the Titaness Thetis cast a divine punishment upon Callisto and Arcus, the mortal lover and child of Zeus. She forbade their stars from ever touching the sea, condemning them to circle the heavens for all eternity without rest. And so they remain, drifting endlessly through the northern sky, the great celestial bears, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, immortalized in starlight, yet forever denied the embrace of the ocean. Number 3. Hyperion, Titan god of light and watchfulness. Hyperion, the Titan of heavenly light, was more than the son of Uranus, the boundless sky, and Gaia, the great earth. He was the embodiment of the cosmos's first, purest radiance, light born from the very heart of creation. The glow in his eyes was the first gaze of existence itself, and every step he took left a trail of fire across the newborn heavens. From this blazing divine lineage came 3 immortal lights. Eos, the dawn, who lifts the night's veil with rose-tipped fingers. Helios, the blazing sun who scorches paths across the sky. And Selene, the silent moon, gliding in dreamlike silence through the stars. Through Hyperion, the heavens' first new light. And through him, the world opened its eyes today. His wife was Theia, the Lady of Ether, the brilliant cerulean blue that crowns the sky. She was not merely a goddess, but the glow of heaven itself, the purest light that dances above the clouds where mortal eyes dare not reach. His name was Hyperion, born from the ancient Greek words hyper and ion, meaning the one who watches from above, or he who goes beyond. A name not merely spoken, but lived, for Hyperion did not just shine. He observed, ascended, and lit the heavens from heights untouched by mortals or gods. Hyperion was one of 4 Titan brothers who dared to rise against their father, Uranus. Alongside Cronus, he took part in a divine conspiracy, not merely to defy, but to dethrone the sky itself. When the sky descended to lie with the earth, the trap was set. At the 4 corners of the world stood the Titan brothers, Hyperion, Crius, Coeus, and Iapetus, each waiting in silence, each prepared for rebellion. As their father Uranus stretched across the land, they seized him with divine strength, pinning the heavens to the earth. And then came Cronus from the shadows, wielding a jagged sickle of unyielding stone. With a single, fateful strike, he severed the sky from the world, and the age of the Titans began in blood and defiance. In this ancient myth, the 4 Titans stood not merely as rebels, but as living pillars of the cosmos. Positioned at the corners of the world, Hyperion, Coeus, Crius, and Iapetus held apart the sky and the earth, embodying the colossal forces that shape the universe. Like the great celestial supports described in Near Eastern cosmologies, they upheld the very structure of existence, vast, unmoving, and eternal. As the father of the sun and the dawn, Hyperion was rightfully seen as the titan of the eastern pillar, the first light of the world rising at his feet. His brothers, Coeus, Crius, and Iapetus, stood as guardians of the north, south, and west, ancient sentinels anchoring the corners of the cosmos. Together, they formed the sacred frame of creation, each holding a direction, each bearing the weight of heaven itself. Number 4. Theia, Titan goddess of the sun and light. Theia, goddess of light, was not only radiant in power, she was breathtaking in form. Among the 6 daughters of the Titans, she was said to be the most beautiful, her presence glowing with celestial grace. As the embodiment of light itself, she was a perfect counterpart to her brother Hyperion, a divine union where light met vision, and brilliance gave birth to the sky's most sacred flames. She was said to breathe divine light into gold, silver, and every precious gem, her touch awakening the brilliance hidden deep within the earth. In the sacred land of Thetis, in Thessaly, Theia spoke not with thunder, but through prophecy. Her voice carried in whispers of sunlight and stone, revealing fate to those who dared to listen. Her name was born from ancient words, Theia, meaning sight, and Theatso, to prophesy. She was not only a goddess of light, but of vision and divine insight. The ancients also called her Aether, the blue sky, and Euryphessa, wide-shining, for her presence stretched across the heavens, bathing both earth and stars in brilliance. To speak her name was to invoke clarity, beauty, and the boundless light of the cosmos. Number 5. Zeus, Titan god of oracles, wisdom, and foresight. Coeus, one of the eldest of the Titans, was born of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. In the age before Olympians, he and his brothers conspired in silence, their hearts heavy with resentment and fate. When Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, the ambush began. Positioned at the 4 corners of the world, Coeus and his 3 brothers, Hyperion, Crius, and Iapetus, seized their father with divine force, anchoring each limb of the vast and living sky. Then came Cronus, armed with a jagged sickle of stone, and in one fateful stroke he severed heaven from earth. Thus ended the reign of Uranus, not with thunder, but with silence and betrayal carved into the stars. In this ancient myth, the 2 brothers appear not merely as gods, but as living embodiments of the great cosmic pillars, echoes of Near Eastern cosmologies. They stood as towering sentinels at the edges of existence, holding sky and earth apart, ensuring that order could rise where chaos once reigned. In some tellings, they upheld not just the heavens and the ground, but the entire universe itself, suspended high above in perfect, eternal balance. Coeus, also known by the ancient name Polos, of the northern pole, was revered as the Titan of the north, the fixed axis around which the heavens turned. His brothers stood beside him as cosmic sentinels of the world. Hyperion, blazing in the east with the rising sun. Iapetus, brooding in the west where day meets dusk. And Crius, still and vast in the mystic south. Together, they were not just titans. They were the living pillars of creation, each anchoring a corner of the cosmos, each bearing the weight of heaven itself. Coeus, the titan of divine intellect, was bound in sacred union with his sister Phoebe, goddess of shining prophecy. From their union came 2 daughters destined to shape the mythic world. Asteria, mistress of falling stars and dark omens, and Leto, serene and radiant, chosen by fate. Both were pursued by Zeus. One fled, the other endured. Asteria, refusing the king of Olympus, transformed into a quail and cast herself into the Aegean Sea, where she vanished beneath the waves, a silent act of defiance that gave rise to the sacred island of Delos. Leto, hunted and cast out, found refuge on that very island. There, under the gaze of moon and star, she gave birth to divine twins. Apollo, the god of the sun and music, and Artemis, the goddess of the moon and the hunt, destined to rise as two of the most powerful deities upon Olympus. From wisdom came prophecy. From suffering, divinity. From silence, the gods are born. Number 6. Phoebe, Titan goddess of prophecy and intellect. Because Phoebe was the grandmother of Apollo and Artemis, the divine twins were sometimes honored with her name. Apollo as Phoebus, the radiant one, and Artemis as Phoebe, the luminous huntress. These were not mere epithets, but echoes of lineage, sacred reflections passed down through light and blood, linking the wisdom of the Titans to the glory of Olympus. Phoebe, like her granddaughter Artemis, bore a sacred connection to the moon, her presence serene, her wisdom radiant beneath the silver light. Yet her greatest power lay not in the heavens, but in the unseen, prophecy. She was deeply entwined with the ancient oracle of Delphi, a place where fate whispered through smoke and stone, long before Apollo made it his own. There, her spirit lingered like moonlight on marble, and her voice was the breath of destiny itself. Number 7. Crius, Titan god of constellations. Crius, one of the eldest of the Titans, was born from a union of Uranus, the endless sky, and Gaia, the eternal earth. Forged in the dawn of creation, he stood as a silent force of cosmic order, a pillar between heaven and world, shaped not by fire or storm, but by the stars themselves. Crius, also known as Crius, took as his consort his half-sister Rhea, a goddess not counted among the 12 original Titans, but born of Gaia and her second consort, the sea god Pontus. From their union came 3 sons of elemental power and divine purpose. Astraeus, the god of twilight, who painted the sky in starlight as day gave way to night. Pallas, the god of warcraft and strategic might, clad in celestial armor. And Perses, the god of destruction, whose wrath could crumble mountains and silent cities. From sea and sky, they were born, harbingers of dusk, conflict, and chaos in the age of Titans. Under the command of Cronus, for brothers rose in silent rebellion. Titans born of sky and earth, yet bound by fate to shatter the heavens. Together, they conspired against their father, Uranus, and prepared a divine ambush for the moment he descended to lie with Gaia. It was not rage that drove them, but destiny, and when the sky touched the earth, they struck. But in the end, the Titans fell. Overthrown by Zeus and the gods of Olympus, their ancient reign was broken by thunder, fate, and fire. One by one, they were cast down into Tartarus, a shadowed abyss beneath the world, deeper than mortal comprehension. There, behind gates of bronze and walls of night, the Titans remain imprisoned, not destroyed, but bound in silence, as echoes of a forgotten age rumble beneath the earth. Number 8. Mnemosyne, Titan goddess of memory. Mnemosyne, the Titaness of memory and remembrance, was more than a guardian of the past. She was the very mind of the cosmos. It was she who first gave form to thought, birthing not just memory, but language itself. From her divine breath came the first words, and with them, the power to name, to tell, to remember. Where silence once ruled, Mnemosyne brought voice, the voice from which all stories, poetry, and knowledge would forever flow. As the daughter of the Titan Uranus, the sky, Mnemosyne was not only the goddess of memory, but also of time itself. She embodied the sacred art of remembrance in an age before writing, when stories lived only in breath and voice. Mnemosyne preserved the histories of gods and mortals alike through pure recollection, a divine, mechanical memory that kept myth and truth alive across generations. In her, time did not pass. It was held, spoken, and remembered. In this sacred role, Mnemosyne became the mother of the Mnemosyne, the Muses, divine patrons of poets and storytellers in an age when tales lived only through the spoken word. Though she took none of her Titan brothers as a consort, she played a profound part in shaping the next generation of gods. Through wisdom, not war. Through memory, not might. Mnemosyne nurtured the minds of immortals and mortals alike, sowing the seeds of inspiration that would echo through eternity. For 9 sacred nights, Mnemosyne lay with Zeus, king of the gods, not in passion alone, but in divine purpose. From their timeless union were born 9 radiant daughters: Calliope, Clio, Erato, Euterpe, Melpomene, Polymnia, Urania, Terpsichore, and Theia. These were the muses, goddesses of inspiration who would awaken the minds of poets, artists, and philosophers across ages. Each muse carried a spark of divine memory and creative fire, guiding mortal imagination and preserving the soul of culture itself. From memory and thunder came song, and with it, the eternal breath of creation. Number 9. Iapetus, Titan god of mortal life or god of death. Iapetus, one of the eldest of the Titans, was born of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. Silent and solemn, he bore the weight of mortality and the shadow of fate. But before he was a symbol of death, he was a rebel. Alongside his 4 brothers, Iapetus rose against his father Uranus, joining the ancient conspiracy to overthrow the heavens. With arms of stone and hearts of defiance, they seized the sky and brought down the old order. In that moment, Iapetus was not merely a son of heaven, he was its undoer. Iapetus, the ancient Titan, was known as the god of craftsmanship, or of mortal death, depending on the telling. He took as his wife the Oceanid Clymene, his luminous niece born of flowing waters, and together they brought forth 4 sons whose names would echo through the fate of mankind: Atlas, Prometheus, Epimetheus, and Mnemosyne. These were not simply divine offspring. They were the spiritual ancestors of the human race. Each son passed down a flaw wrapped in fire. Atlas gave us relentless courage that becomes burden. Prometheus, cunning intellect that defies the gods. Epimetheus, blind impulse born of hindsight. And Mnemosyne, prideful wrath that consumes itself. Through Iapetus' line, the seeds of human greatness and downfall were sown. Number 10. Themis, Titan goddess of law, order, and justice. Themis, the Titaness of sacred law and cosmic order, was the living embodiment of the first divine codes, the original customs set forth by the gods to govern the universe with justice and balance. More than a judge, she was a prophetess, presiding over the most ancient oracles of the world, including the hallowed shrine of Delphi, long before Apollo ever claimed it. In this sacred role, she was the voice of Themistes, divine utterances that guided mortals toward righteous conduct and ethical living. She taught humanity the earliest laws of piety and morality, reverence for the gods, the sanctity of hospitality, wise governance, respectful discourse in councils, and the proper offerings owed to the heavens. Where chaos once ruled, Themis brought order, not by force, but through wisdom, ritual, and the eternal voice of divine justice. Themis became the second wife of Zeus, not through conquest, but through cosmic purpose. By his side, she helped him solidify his dominion over both gods and mortals, not with thunderbolts, but with the quiet authority of divine law. She is often depicted seated beside his throne, whispering truths of fate and sacred justice into the ear of Olympus's king. It was Themis who shaped the laws that governed not only mankind, but the gods themselves, laws so sacred, so absolute, that even Zeus could not defy them. In her wisdom, power found balance. In her voice, destiny was heard. Themis, ever shifting in form, yet constant in purpose, was the mother of the fates and the hours, daughters who governed the threads of destiny and the sacred rhythm of time. As the original guardian of the oracle at Delphi, Themis spoke the will of the cosmos, her voice rising from the breath of the earth itself. But such was her love for Apollo, the god of light and harmony, that she did not resist him. Instead, she offered him the sacred seat at Delphi, gifting him the oracle not by force, but by grace. In that divine act of trust, prophecy passed from Titan to Olympian, not as conquest, but as legacy. 11. Cronus, Titan ruler of the universe. Cronus, also known as Cronos and Saturn to the Romans, was the youngest son of Gaia and Uranus, yet the strongest of all the Greek titans. For a brief, shining moment in time, the world flourished under his rule in what became known as the Golden Age, an era untouched by war, untouched by want. No evil had yet been born, and the earth knew only harmony. Under Cronus, mortals lived without fear, crops grew without labor, and the seasons flowed in perfect rhythm. He was a ruler not of thunder, but of stillness, a titan beneath whose shadow the world exhaled in peace. Yet Cronus, in all his might, failed to honor the vow that crowned him king. He did not release his imprisoned brothers from Tartarus as he had promised. And soon, the earth herself, Gaia, his own mother, stirred with fury. Betrayed by the son she had raised to topple the heavens, she began to plot against him, not with swords or storms, but with the slow, silent power of prophecy. For when a titan breaks his oath to the earth, it is the earth that calls forth his end. Cronus heard a prophecy that chilled even a titan's heart. Just as he had overthrown his own father, one of his children would one day rise to overthrow him. Gripped by fear and desperate to defy fate, he committed an unthinkable act. Each time his wife and sister, Rhea, bore a child, Cronus took the newborn into his hands and swallowed them whole. He did not see sons or daughters, only threats. And thus, the god who ruled time tried to consume the future itself. Number 12. Rhea, Titan goddess of fertility. Rhea, the great Titaness, was revered as the mother of the gods, the divine embodiment of fertility, sacred motherhood, and the eternal cycle of generations. Her name means flow and ease, echoing the natural rhythm of life itself, from birth to legacy, from sea to sky. As the consort of Cronus, the Titan of time, Rhea did not merely stand beside him, she balanced him. Where he marked the passage of time, she carried its pulse. She was the flowing stream beneath eternity, the silent force that bore gods into existence and gave form to the future. In the myths, she reigns as queen of the heavens, not by conquest, but by creation. When Cronus heard the prophecy that one of his own children would rise to overthrow him, he acted with cold resolve. One by one, as each child was born to Rhea, he seized them and swallowed them whole. To Cronus, it was a triumph. He believed he had outwitted fate, silenced the threat before it could ever speak. And so, he sat upon his throne, satisfied, secure, and blind. But Rhea was not so still. Her heart, once filled with hope, now beat heavy with sorrow. For while Cronus devoured the future, she mourned for the children who never had a chance to live it. As the goddess who governed the sacred flow of Cronus's reign, Rhea held the power to sustain, or to end, the great Titan's rule. When she discovered she was once again with child, a quiet storm stirred within her. She turned to the earth herself, her mother Gaia, for guidance. With Gaia's ancient wisdom, a plan was born. In secret, Rhea gave birth far from Cronus's gaze, shielding her newborn in a hidden place. Then, with solemn hands and a mother's silent defiance, she wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth, smooth, cold, and heavy, and offered it to Cronus as if it were his son. Cronus swallowed it without suspicion, believing he had once again conquered fate. But what he consumed was not a child. It was the beginning of his end. Rhea, the Titaness mother of the gods, was closely identified with the Anatolian mother goddess Cybele, both revered as timeless symbols of fertility, sovereignty, and the wild, nurturing power of womanhood. Like Cybele, Rhea was often portrayed as a majestic matron, adorned with a turreted crown, the emblem of cities and civilizations, and flanked by lions who did not serve, but honored her. She was not merely a mother of gods, but the living embodiment of nature's untamed grace and eternal order. In her presence, mountains bowed, beasts submitted, and the sacred cycle of creation flowed, unbroken and divine.